How many of you know the Marshmallow experiment? Some of you have read or know about this. I had a wonderful experience the other day. I was actually teaching some things that were related to this to a group of grandparents out in Wyoming. It was wonderful. And there's a lot of grandparents raising kids in the world today. Did you know that? And so we had a whole big collection of them out there, and I was teaching them about some of these foundational social emotional skills. And there was this one kid in the room. He was about 9 or 10 years of age. I'm contrasting him in my mind with the kid that I saw in the Wendy's. And when I first saw him there, I made an incorrect assumption. I saw this kid coming in with his grandmother, and I thought, uh-oh, this is one of those troubled kids. He's probably been kicked out of school. He's in trouble of some kind or another. He's going to be one of those slightly behaviorally disordered kids that ends up coming with somebody because nobody will watch him. They couldn't find a babysitter, whatever the case might be. He's out of school. Nobody will watch this kid. He's coming with grandma. I've seen that before. This was not that at all. His grandma takes care of him and raises him. But he's a good, strong kid. And she doesn't have a car. It was broken. And he was released from school because she lived way outside of town. And she was riding a bus to come into the senior center and hear this presentation and participate in this workshop. And because his grandma needed help and support, he had been excused from school to bring his grandma to the workshop so that she could participate. In fact, when I asked this question, have any of you heard of the Marshmallow experiment? The only person in the room who had was him. And so I had him stand up and explain it to people. And he did a really good job. He had read about this or heard about it or seen the videotapes that represent it. And so this Marshmallow experiment was done way back in the 1960s by this guy named Walter Mischel. And what he did was take 4-year-olds, well actually he trained his researchers because they did it with a fairly large number of kids. And the way they did it was the researcher would meet the child, we would go into the little examination room and we would play for a while. They would play some little table games and they would talk and build a little bit of a connection, a little sense of trust and safety. They didn't just throw the kid into the test until this connection had been established with the researcher. And then the researcher would say this to the child, I'm going to leave in just a minute. I'm going to put a bell on the table. If you ring that bell, did I say these were 4-year-old children? If you ring that bell, I will come right back in and I will bring you one marshmallow. Anytime you want me to come back, you ring the bell, I'll come right back. But if you wait about 15 minutes until I come back on my own, I will bring you 2. What a goofy little experiment. Which kids will wait 15 minutes for an extra single marshmallow? Really? Well, what the researchers were really looking for was what would kids do? How would certain kids kind of occupy their minds and keep themselves distracted so that they weren't constantly thinking about the reward? So how would some kids manage to get themselves to wait a little longer than other kids? The magic of this research is that they followed these kids up for a very long time, for a couple of decades, to see how the difference between those who could wait and those who could not wait would play out in their lives. What do you think they found? The kids who could wait for 15 minutes for the second marshmallow were more likely to be respectful of adult authority in school, more likely to achieve and learn at higher levels, more likely to stay out of trouble in middle school and high school, more likely to finish high school, more likely to go on for some kind of advanced learning after high school, more likely to be successful on the job, and more likely to be successful in relationships. Every kind of indicator you would want for good learning and for a better life. And this one just blows me away. The kids who could wait for 15 minutes compared to the ones who couldn't, on average, had a 210-point higher SAT score. That's a lot on the SATs, which are a 1,600-point scale. 200 points makes a big old difference.